Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living Healthy and Aging Well. My name is Ken Haglind, and we are broadcasting live from the AM 950 radio station that overlooks beautiful Bryant Lake Regional Park located in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. It is another gorgeous day here in the Twin Cities, and I am so grateful to be here with you today, and I hope all of you listening are doing well. We are on the air every Saturday from noon to 1 to talk about your health and your life. We cover a wide range of topics to help you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me in a few minutes will be Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association, along with Alec Wendelboe, who is the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator, to discuss their organization's free, I want to mention that really strongly here, their free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. Bradley Donaldson will share insights from his extensive leadership experience and his vision as he transitions into his role as CEO. Alec Wendelboe will highlight the statewide impact of their educational and outreach programs. Together, they will discuss the challenges survivors face and the initiatives their organizations provide. You will enjoy listening to my conversation today with Bradley and Alec. I want to thank all of you that leave us messages on our radio show phone line. We appreciate hearing from you, and we welcome your comments, questions, and topics for future shows. Also, if you are interested in being a guest on our radio show, please call or text us at 612-999-3426. You can also contact us on our website at livinghealthyradio.com. There you can find information about upcoming guests as well as listen to our previous shows, and we look forward to hearing from you. We are adding new listeners to the show each week, and we're so grateful for that, not only here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, but also throughout the country. You can find podcasts for all of our radio shows on the AM 950 radio website, and we can also be found on your favorite streaming service such as iTunes, Spotify, and many others. You can also watch our broadcast live on the radio station's Facebook page at AM 950 Radio. If you have a question for us today, there are two ways to reach us. First, by calling the AM 950 radio station, and our friendly show engineer Patrick will get your call on the air. Our phone number is 952-946-6205. Once again, 952-946-6205. Or you can directly text us your questions at 612-999-3426. Now, don't worry, folks. If you missed our contact numbers, I'll repeat them throughout the show. All right, let's just jump into this great conversation I'm so looking forward to. And I want to welcome Bradley Donaldson, and we're going to call you Brad today.
Thank you.
Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer, and Alec Wendelboe, Education and Community Outreach Coordinator from the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association. Welcome to the show, Brad and Alec.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, the audience loves to know who is on the show, so they enjoy hearing a little bit about your background. Brad, why don't we give you a little bit about your background here, and then we'll talk about your transition here into your current role in a few minutes.
Sure. So I come out of a degree set of theater and English, which logically means I got into nonprofit work. Actually, I was very interested in getting into service-based work.
Yeah.
And when the opportunity came along to join an organization like the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance, it was just an opportunity I couldn't pass up.
Yeah.
I was so fortunate. At the time when I joined them, that was about 26 years ago. We were a staff of 5. I mean, the little small nonprofit that always believed we could. But you look down the road, you see that vista of, think of all the good we could do if only. How do we?
Right.
If only, maybe, how? And 26 years later, we're a staff of 76, and all those if-onlys have become, well, of course we do. And
Right.
It has been an incredible, incredible journey.
That is. I talk to so many people on the show, and they do these. You guys are amazing because you have a vision, or the organization has a vision with you about what could be, and it's amazing to talk about the stories, the journeys of what it took to get there. And you're right, though. At some point, you realize, well, of course, this is possible. How could it not be?
Exactly.
But 26 years ago, or in my case, 9 years ago, you're thinking, will this ever happen?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's again so encouraging to talk to people like you and organizations that started with an idea. And you are so typical of all the people that come on this show, and I hope it's encouraging to the audience to know those dreams can come true. You got to put
Absolutely.
effort and blood, sweat, and tears into it. But I'm so looking forward to talking to you about your organization and what you guys are doing and helping serve our communities.
Thank
That'd be
you.
great. All right, Alec.
Yes.
Let's talk about you.
Yeah, so I'm originally from southern Minnesota, Albert Lea to be precise. Went over to Hamline University and got my degree in neuroscience. So really the brain injury research and brain research is my bread and butter. I also have some lab experience over at the Wesley and Lorraine Arts Cognitive Neuroscience Center and some case management services through the Alliance. So been around the brain injury side for a while now.
Yeah, and how long have you been here with the Brain Alliance?
Yes, it'll be just about 4 years this upcoming May, actually.
Wow, fantastic. Oh, that's great. All right. Well, so you guys could do, you're very smart, obviously. You could do anything you wanted to do. Why your current position? Why this?
I can, watching the organization become what it is, every day I go to the office is not a day of work. I get to watch people's lives become better simply because I showed up and helped make it happen. I don't do the direct service. We have many people much more qualified and far better at that than I am. But I get to help make sure they get to do what they do best. Every day I get to go home and tell my kids, someone's better off because our organization existed today. Yeah. And that's a legacy. That's watching that and knowing that you've left a mark for somebody and their life, they've smiled today maybe because of you. It doesn't get any better.
No, it's
Agreed.
The meaningfulness. Yeah. What inspired you, Alec?
Yeah,
to
so
join
a little
the
bit more the personal side for myself. Growing up, I have 4 uncles, 2 experienced brain injuries and 2 experienced strokes for various reasons. So really close to my heart, this topic of both brain injury and stroke, and I feel it really resonates that it can happen to anybody at any time. So it's just more and more important that we have the awareness and the advocacy.
Did that prompt you to go into neuroscience?
Absolutely, it did.
Okay. So many times people have a life event or something happens that puts them on a trajectory that they never would have contemplated, before that event.
Just lights that passion.
It does. We got a couple minutes here in this first segment. What's the history and background of your organization, Brad?
So our organization was founded in 1984, and it sprung out of a group of parents, particularly. They had children that had brain injuries, and the resources were non-existent. They wanted help. They wanted information. They wanted to have options for their children, which, let's face it, that's kind of every parent's drive, is they want to make sure their children are well taken care of. Right. And there was nothing, and they didn't feel that was okay. So they put together this organization in 1984, and from there we've kept that kind of mentality, that intent, that it's not okay not to have an option of something. And that's what's kept us driving.
Wow, 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's been 40 years.
And you've been with it for 26.
Yep. It's been an up and down ride up through until we hit about year 2000. And then from there, we crafted our signature program, Resource Facilitation, which is a jargony term, but what it does is it works to help the individual meet them where they need at the certain time they need with the resources they would need. So it's a 2-year follow-along program. It's kind of just a basic. But instead of always saying, like a lot of nonprofit services back in the early thousands were doing, hey, you have a brain injury. If things get rough, you give me a call. I'm here. Let's put it back on the person who's already dealing with issues to get so far down that path of lack of independence and needing support that they have to reach out. We as a people like to be independent. We don't like to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And so our intent was to flip that script, and we will call them every 6 months or more often. Yeah. In fact, when it first starts, every 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months. But we'll reach out to them and just ask the question. How you doing?
Yeah.
And the answer is usually, Oh, I'm doing all right.
Right.
And then we start poking. Well, so like you're doing all right. Fatigue issues aren't, oh, well, I am more tired. And all of a sudden you're catching them before the crises set in, where you can give them a quality of life, rather than they've lost their support systems, they possibly lost their jobs, their houses, and now you're not giving them a quality of life. You're just trying to keep them alive.
Yeah.
That was where we started back in 2000.
Wow. Yeah, we're at the end of our segment here. I'm just so curious how people find you. Is it through a referral process or whatever? We'll talk about that here in the second segment. But we got to take a quick break here. It's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association, along with Alec Wendelboe, Education and Community Outreach Coordinator. And they're discussing the organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Haglind, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hello, everyone. I am Becky McNatten, host of Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This Sunday, tune in as we process through self-criticality and how this impacts all of us. And if you have a question about self-criticality or other emotional experiences, visit our website at becomingtogethermn.com to find the Feels Out Loud page or email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We may share your question on the show. Join us at 9 a.m. to live and share mental health together.
Hey everyone, this is longtime AM 950 host Ellie Krug. I'm thrilled to announce my brand new show, The Illegal Trans Woman, which takes advocacy from my community, transgender and gender variant people, up several big notches. The Illegal Trans Woman will feature interviews, commentary, and information aimed at pushing back against efforts to oppress trans and gender variant humans. Please tune in on Saturdays at 4 or wherever you go to get your podcasts. And do me a favor, share about the show. Thanks!
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
You've heard of caucuses, but do you know why they matter? In Minneapolis, over the last 10 years, the candidate who wins the DFL endorsement has gone on to win over 90% of the time in November. It all starts at the caucus, and you can be a part of it. The problem? Most people don't show up. In fact, only 2% of registered voters usually participate in the Minneapolis City Caucus. That means a small group of people end up making decisions for the rest of us. If you care about safety, affordability, and the future of our city, showing up at your caucus is the most important thing you can do. Caucuses aren't complicated, and you don't need to be an expert in politics to take part. You just need to show up, ready to help decide who will lead our city in the future. Whether your most important issue is public safety, housing, affordability, or creating a city that provides opportunity for everyone, it all starts at the caucuses. Visit WeLoveMPLS.org to learn how caucuses work and why your voice matters.
Paid for by We Love Minneapolis. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglind, and joining me today is Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association, along with Alec Wendelboe, who is the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator, and they're discussing their organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. And we're going to be talking about the challenges survivors face and the initiatives that their organizations provide. Alec, how can our listeners contact you or your organization if they have questions or want more information?
Absolutely. I'd say the easiest way to get a hold of us would be visiting either one of our websites, either braininjurymn.org or strokemn.org. We've got lots of great information about how to engage with our various events and outreach activities. We have phone number and contact information towards the bottom of that page, so that'd be a great way. If you're looking to get connected specifically with our resource facilitation program, there'd also be an avenue to get in touch with those folks as well.
Okay, great. And that's a good point. We should mention that you guys, as I mentioned in the intros, it's two organizations, but they're really supported by your organization. One organization supports both of these great services that you guys do.
Absolutely.
And maybe let's talk about that a little bit, just so there's not any confusion. Because it's always trying to merge the things together, and then people are trying to get confused.
Totally.
And you have a great website. So I encourage people to, if they want to follow along here, braininjurymn.org is the one we're looking at right now.
Yes.
Alec, do you want to talk about that?
Totally.
The merging and coordination of these two organizations.
Yeah, and I really like to think about it like we're hoping to serve a similar boat of individuals, folks who've had some type of acquired brain injury. And really, we kind of connected with the Minnesota Stroke Association back in 2010 to kind of serve that bridge between those two communities. Mm-hmm. So we like to refer to ourselves as sister organizations served by the same group of staff. So anything the Brain Injury Alliance does, the Stroke Association also has their hands in, and really trying to serve both communities.
Okay. And some of the commonality there is that there's been an injury to the brain.
Exactly.
So a stroke obviously injures the brain with lack of blood flow, and and then of course a TBI, if somebody falls or there's a head trauma or an accident. Does your organizations then treat those situations similarly or differently?
That's a great question.
Depending upon the person and the situation.
Yes. And you might think, why don't we call ourselves, say, the Acquired Brain Injury Alliance and put them all under the same umbrella? And really what we find is there isn't often a great overlap between what the stroke community feels and what the brain injury community feels. So we like to treat them really as two separate entities and serve them separately. While there'll be a lot of overlap in terms of what we do and how we serve those folks, we try to at least think about them differently to respect those two communities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So on the break, we talked a little bit about how do people find you? How do people because again, just like hospice, it doesn't just roll off the top of your head. Oh, you got to talk to the Minnesota Brain Alliance or the Injury Alliance or whatever. It's like, how do people, when they incur either a stroke or they incur an injury, find you, or how do you find them?
Totally. And I'd say one of the best ways is when we connect with those hospital social workers and discharge workers to help kind of give that message when someone is in that acute phase of brain injury or stroke recovery leaving the hospital. Mm-hmm. We also work really closely with those emergency room departments to make sure that they're giving some of our information out to folks. But of course, it can be a real challenge to remember, especially after something like brain injury or stroke. So trying to get some awareness out there in the community as well so folks can kind of see that as they're moving along.
No, that's great. I think to partner with hospitals and organizations, because when people go into crisis, they don't remember a lot of things.
Exactly.
We find that in our profession. You have to repeat it. You have to follow up because they're struggling with, they got knocked out of their routine, and it can be a devastating, traumatic experience when either you or your loved one has a stroke or has a brain injury or, through accidents or falls. So, okay.
And that's where we feel like also items like this radio broadcast, is a fantastic avenue for someone that might have incurred a brain injury, went through the medical systems, and just never really, either they didn't hear about us or it didn't resonate at the time. But at a certain time in their journey, it will mean something. And so that, to your point, that repetitive messaging of, we're here, we're available, we have supports and services that can help individuals on their new journey. And they'll find it at some point, hopefully, at a time that is most convenient and impactful for them.
Yeah. We got a couple minutes left in this segment here. Let's talk, at least touch on some of the services that you and your organization provide, to people that need that help.
Absolutely. I can quickly cruise through those.
Go ahead,
So starting off with our resource facilitation program, I really like to think of that one as the bridge to help folks transition back home from that acute phase and making sure they have some support at home. So, of course, an entirely free phone support service. We also have our case management services, which help to oversee those home and community-based services provided through someone's waiver program or medical assistance program. Not to mention our care coordination program, looking specifically into Medica and other insurance options. We'd also have our public awareness folks who go to the Capitol and advocate for issues that are important to survivors and important to their loved ones. And we do so through our Citizen Advocate program, where we invite survivors and those families to come and speak with legislators. We also have myself in education and outreach. The bulk of what I do is I travel around the state of Minnesota to various centers or hospitals and try to spread a little bit more of that brain injury basics, stroke basics, educational programming. And finally, we have volunteers. And I like to say these volunteers help us twofold. We have many folks who, let's say they want to get back to the workforce, but they're a little nervous after something like brain injury or stroke. Will my employer be understanding? Well, we invite them to work with us to regain some of those skills related to competitive employment. And we like to bring in survivors who have amazing stories to come with me when I'm out speaking in the community to make sure we're highlighting that lived experience as well. So a ton of avenues.
Yeah. No, some of the best shows I've had were people coming in and saying, I was served by even an assisted living. I was afraid to go from my home where I had all my memories and all my routines and everything to go to a new facility or a new community. And we brought in some of these people who had struggled with that transition, and they just took over the show. And they were just so happy to have found this. And again, they just didn't know. We all have preconceived ideas in our heads of what something's like until you actually do it. Absolutely.
You can't know what you don't know, right?
You're right. All right. Well, it's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association. And along with him is Alec Wendelboe, Education and Community Outreach Coordinator, and they're discussing the organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Haglind, and you are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
You may not think of it, but winter is a great time to take care of those exterior home projects. This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction. Most people wait until the warmer months for their exterior home projects, but labor costs are actually lowest in the winter. And that's true for the contractor I trust, Snap Construction. Arguably the most well-reviewed exterior contractor and insulation contractor in the metro. Are you noticing ice dams on your house, or is your furnace constantly running and you're still not comfortable? In addition to your exterior home projects, winter is also a great time to get your insulation checked with a free energy audit from Snap Construction. The average cost to upgrade your insulation is oftentimes less than a new furnace. Plus, there are rebates available from your energy provider when you upgrade your insulation. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. So don't wait for prices to rise in the warmer months. Get a free estimate now by calling 612-333-SNAP, 612-333-SNAP, or go to snapconstruction.com.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Progressive change doesn't just happen. It takes dedication and a lot of hard work. 25 years ago, the Databank pioneered a new generation of software tools for progressive organizations here in Minnesota. Since then, thousands of organizations have used the Databank to create progressive change. Today, the Databank continues to help progressive organizations like AM 950. To have the Databank help your organization build capacity and create more change, text CHANGE to 612-540-0500 or go to thedatabank.com. The Databank, a quarter century of dedication and hard work for progressive organizations.
Hello, my friends. It's Nancy Nelson. I have an invitation. Our Maddie McNeil has been on the air here at AM 950 for 15 years. We're celebrating, and you should join us. It's Sunday, March 30th from 2 to 5 p.m. at Crooner Supper Club. You order a marvelous dinner. There's going to be a lot of videos of people congratulating Maddie, and then I'm going to interview him about his life and his career, and you have the chance to spend time with him and meet him. Order your tickets, am950radio.com. Join us.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clouds move in today with a high of 47, then overnight rain expected with a low of 38. AM 950 is celebrating 15 years of Matt McNeil on March 30th, and you're invited. Join us at Crooner Supper Club in Fridley from 2 to 5 for an unforgettable celebration. Head over to am950radio.com right now to get your tickets.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Saturday. Welcome back. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglind, and joining me today is Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association, along with Alec Wendelboe, who is the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator. And they're discussing their organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. Before we return to our conversation with Brad and Alec, I want to mention this radio show is brought to you in part each week by Minnesota Hospice. Minnesota Hospice is an independent, locally owned medical practice serving our Twin Cities communities with comprehensive end-of-life health care. The team at Minnesota Hospice provides patients and family members with award-winning end-of-life health care services. You may not be aware that hospice brings compassionate medical, social, emotional, and spiritual services to your home with typically no cost to you or your family. Please do not wait to learn how hospice care can benefit you and your loved ones. If you have any questions regarding end-of-life care or support, please contact the compassionate team of experts at Minnesota Hospice. They are available to answer your questions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Their phone is answered by a registered nurse. So please call them at 952-898-1022 or visit them online at minnesotahospice.com. All right, let's return to our conversation with Brad and Alec. First of all, if people have questions, and I know they do, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you guys to answer questions or get more information?
Absolutely. I'd say connecting with our resource facilitation program, absolutely. And that is not limited to survivors. It's open to caregivers, professionals, really anyone who might have questions is welcome to call in. And there are some common questions we get a little bit more often than others. I'd say one of the most common we get would be from survivors, when will I be back to normal again?
Right.
When will things kind of look the same? And, obviously this can be a pretty challenging question to answer. I'd say the biggest thing is if the brain changes, we fundamentally change. Mm-hmm. So sometimes going back to normal isn't really what we're looking for. We're looking to find the new normal. What are your new strengths? How can we highlight those and reduce limitations to keep you as happy as possible? Another common question we get would be, is my loved one displaying this troublesome behavior, or is this really just a symptom of brain injury? And often what we see is those individual symptoms of brain injury will kind of accumulate and stack together and may present as though it's more of a behavioral concern. But we often recommend that folks kind of work from the bottom up, addressing those symptoms individually, and you'll often see some of the behaviors kind of leaning off as a result. Another common question would, of course, be, has anyone else been through this? Am I alone? And they're absolutely not alone. In fact, acquired brain injury, which encompasses both brain injury, the traumatic injuries, and stroke, is the second most prevalent disability in the United States, falling second only to depression and estimated to impact 13.5 million Americans. So a large portion of people going through the same thing you are.
Yeah.
And finally, why am I so exhausted? Why am I just feeling so tired, so drained? And really that's because the brain is healing while we're sleeping and we're doing things differently. So the better you can do to learn how to recognize how your energy levels are doing and kind of self-correct as you go, the better off you'll be in the future.
Boy, that is one of the things we hear quite a bit of, is just, why am I so tired? Why am I exhausted?
Yes.
And you think about it, it's just invisible injury.
Exactly.
Right? That you have, and of course nobody else sees, but they wonder, well, where's that pep in your step, and why aren't you the same, energy level you were before, Brad?
Yeah. Why aren't you the same? You're different than you used to be. Right. People will make, and I don't mean this to sound critical, but judging moments towards it, because it is typically doesn't have a visual representation. Someone with a broken arm or a broken leg, you instantly understand why they may move at a slower pace or have some struggles they're facing with. Someone with a brain injury, it doesn't always have a visible representation. There's just items they're dealing with that other people will then assume it's a choice of that, oh, you're exacerbating this or you're inflating that. It does create that stigma around that an individual faces. That's where some of the things of, am I alone in this? Am I, pardon the vernacular, am I crazy? Is this real?
Right.
And the truth is, it is. It is real. You are not crazy. These are real things that real people deal with, and we can help share some of those stories. For example, one of the things our services does help individuals that have sustained the issue, the brain injury or the stroke. But it also helps the caregivers, the loved ones, the spouses, the significant others, the parents. For example, a mother, her child was dropped down the stairs. The father was walking down the stairs, tripped, and the child fell and sustained a brain injury as a baby. And throughout his life, they worked with him. He's gained skills. He's done wonderfully. But there are challenges beyond just raising a child that incurs. And so the mother, her benefit from our programs, she would call and just say, I just need someone to listen, and I need to be able to cry. And then I can go back and take care of my child in the way they should, because my child shouldn't see me cry. And that's when you have moments like that where you realize this is what they need. They need a moment to resustain themselves, to rebuild themselves, and they'll go back and take care of their loved one. So this helps not only the person with the issue, but their caregivers and loved ones as well.
Wow. So many times we think people are looking for a solution, and they just want someone to hear them. I have a voice.
Exactly.
Please just listen to me. I don't need an answer. I just need you to
I
listen.
matter.
Yeah, right,
Yes.
right. Especially, caregivers. I had the Minnesota State Demographer's Office on the show a few years ago, and they were saying how our population is aging, and there's a lot of disabilities and things, and that literally over 600,000 people are donating their time, their family, friends, taking care of people that are elderly or disabled. 1 out of 10 Minnesotans are taking care of somebody else who needs that help. And this is outside of the the 4 fee-for-service programs and all the things you can hire. These are just volunteers, people just helping out.
Good people.
And, thank goodness people are doing that, because the concern that the demographer's office had was it's only going to get more.
Absolutely.
So we have a crisis right now that the train is slowly ending its journey, and it's only going to get worse. So that's why your organizations are so important to get the word out, that there is resources available, whether it's just to have an ear to listen to you, or all the resources that you have to help support people.
To discover that in Minnesota we have so many amazing medical practitioners in medical fields, and too often an individual has no idea what options are even out there. And that's one of the things we excel in, is we know the best in the business across the businesses, across the state. We don't do the practicing. We're not physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists. But we know the ones who are really good and understand brain injury and stroke, and we can help them get connected to the services that can help them. And the most important part of that is at the time it would matter. Because at times it needs to be staged in. There's certain things that have to be dealt with first, as Alec was mentioning, and certain things then that would fall into a second tier and a third tier. And we'll be with an individual for as long as they want. Our standard is about 2 years we will work with an individual.
Okay. Because I know one of the recovery things that people don't understand with brain injury is it takes a long time. It's not like a cut that heals in 2 weeks or whatever. These, you have to reconnect the neurons and the structure of the brain. The brain's amazing. It can, especially with different therapies and things, can redo a lot. But it does take time to do that.
And a lot of energy. It takes a lot of good nutrition. It takes a lot of good time. So if folks don't have that support along the way, it can make it a lot more challenging to do so on your own, of course.
Right. Yes. But that's a whole other topic. Just, the brain is comprised of a lot of fat. And if we don't get enough fat in our diet, especially after an injury or a stroke, that can impede the progress. And so it's amazing how I've had people on the show that talk about nutrition is so important in recovery from all kinds of things. And that's sometimes the last thing people think about.
Isn't it?
Because they're thinking about all the other crises they're dealing with, and they kind of let the nutrition side go. And that really is a building block, a foundation for recovery.
Totally.
Oh, interesting. We've got a couple minutes left in this segment here. So I know you've got a lot of things going on your website here. I want to just touch on that so people can look at that. You've got March is a very important month, Brain Injury Awareness Month.
Correct.
And then in April, you guys have an event.
We have our professional conference. We hold a conference for professionals across the state, talking about connecting the best in the business to the best in the business. Yeah. That's one of our venues.
Okay. And then let's talk about if people want to donate or want to support the mission that you guys are doing. How do people do that?
They can donate on our website. We do have an online portal, but they also could just reach out to our office. We will meet them for donations, just like our services. We'll meet them as where they would like to be met.
Yeah.
Their donations will help assure that we can continue our services free, because the individuals that are dealing with the issues should not be the ones that have to figure out, how do I afford? Do I choose to get the service and pay money towards that, or do I choose to pay money and eat better?
Right.
They shouldn't have to make that choice. So all of our services are free for the individuals and the family members and the loved ones when they need them, and the donations are what help make sure that continues.
Yeah, that is just amazing how you guys have created this model of free support. And has it always been free over the 40 years, or
it has been? Well, really, at least of the last 26, where we conceived resource facilitation. Prior to that, I believe it was, but for sure for the last over a quarter of a century.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. And do people need to register with you, or how does that connection so they can become like a member or a part of the organization? How does that work?
They can give us a call. They can hop on our website. However they'd like, we'll reach out to let us know what they'd like to do. How would they like to support the mission and the organization, and to assure that we can reach more individuals who are sustaining brain injury or stroke? Okay. And we're available in any way, shape, or form. We hold one of our largest events is our fundraising walk. Oh. It's a community walk in September.
Yeah.
And it's approximately 400 people across the state that come out and meet at a park to show that brain injury is a strong, thriving community, and it matters. So if individuals are interested in standing up and being part and being seen as part of that community, that this matters to them, that I'd encourage them to come out to the walk. The community feel out of that is amazing.
Yeah. And do you know where you're going to hold that walk?
Long Lake Regional Park in New Brighton here in the cities, and then we also hold one up in Duluth.
Oh,
so we hold them across the state.
Yeah. Okay. Strides for Stroke, is that the one?
That's the May one with the Minnesota Stroke Association. We also do one for brain injury in September. It's the Minnesota Brain Injury Walk.
Got it. All right.
In the same locations.
Perfect. All right, it's time for a short break, folks. We'll be right back to continue our conversation with Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association. And along with Bradley, we have Alec Wendelboe, who's the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator. And they're discussing their organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors and their caregivers across Minnesota. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. I'm Ken Haglind, and you're listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hi, I'm Corey Wisco, president of the Welshire. The Welshire excels as a memory care community in the Twin Cities, located in Bloomington, and we have a new location in Medina. But what makes Welshire so different is the people that we have working for us. Our team has been together for the past 25 years providing this type of care. We employ some of the most amazing nurses and LPNs that are in the building 24 hours a day. We also have an activity team that is over 40 people. And our scheduling begins at 9 o'clock in the morning for activities, and it goes to 7, 8 o'clock at night. And that's 7 days a week. You won't find that. That is why many of the families that come to Welshire are actually coming from another memory care facility. Not all memory care is created equally. And that's why I encourage you, if you've had issues and problems at other places, come see what makes us so special. Please visit thewelshiremn.com and book a tour.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Located just north of 50th in France, the Great Wall Restaurant has provided a delicious taste of authentic Chinese cuisine since 1981. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking dishes, they offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include hot and sour soup, pan-fried dumplings, and mushu pork with homemade Chinese pancakes. Stop by their Edina location or call for takeout at 952-927-4439. See the full menu at greatwallrestaurant.us.
Hi, this is Laura. The net worth of the so-called bottom half, or 165 million Americans, is about $4 trillion. The top 1% of the top 1%, $24 trillion. What to do? Get out the peasant clothes and hope the titans are kind? Let's imagine a renewal spirit of democracy, an economic story that does not harm the planet. Then let's stand together. Support AM 950 partners by going to am950radio.com. And thank you for being part of the AM 950 community.
All right, welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about helping you and your loved ones improve and enjoy your quality of life. My name is Ken Haglind, and joining me today is Bradley Donaldson, the Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association. And we have Alec Wendelboe here, who is the Education and Community Outreach Coordinator, and they're both discussing their organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. Pretty amazing. If you have a question for us, please give us a call, 952-946-6205, or text us at 612-999-3426. Alec, how can our listeners contact you and your organization if they have questions or want more information?
Yes, I'd say the easiest way is to visit our website, braininjurymn.org, or our stroke website, strokemn.org. And once you get to the bottom of that page, you'll see some call information, some email information, so whatever works best for you from there.
All right, final segment. So let's get as many things as we can get in here on this segment. I want to make sure people understand they don't need a referral to contact your organization. Many times when they're in the hospital or the emergency room, there is a connection made with your organization if it involves a potential brain injury. But if they didn't get a referral or didn't have that happen, can they still connect with you guys?
Absolutely. We are here to meet them on their journey wherever that may be. So whether they are leaving the hospital system and at that point would like to be connected to our services, we do that. If it's been 5 years since a possible incident, and now they're noticing there's some issues, and someone mentioned, hey, there's that brain group. You might want to give them a call. Because too often with our organization, people don't even think about, down the road, I might need the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance. It's not until something has happened that, who is that brain? There's a brain group. Let me reach out to them, and we're here for whatever that may be. It could be significant, a big motor vehicle accident, or it could be a bump in the head. You got your bell rung, saw a few stars. You dust yourself off, you're fine. And a few days later, that dusting of that bell rung, that's a concussion.
Right.
Those could have no impact in the immediate situation, or those could have significant impact, especially if there's multiple concussions occurred.
Right.
And at any time, wherever that may be, however that may be, whenever that may be, we're here, and we can help individuals walk that next phase of their journey.
Wow. And part of the services you provide, which are many services, it's also connecting people with professionals that can help them in trying to get resolution, trying to help restore and recover.
We can help them understand what options are out there for their situations. Yeah. Because, yes, we know some of the best practitioners across the state. So wherever their locale is, we'll work to connect them to individuals in their area that is of their situation and will fit their needs at the time they need it.
Yeah. And so both situationally, but also geographically, you guys cover the entire state of Minnesota. And how do you do that?
We have our services team split up that they represent a region of Minnesota. So they become very familiar with the resources in the area, the culture of the area, the options that are available. For instance, resources here in the metro are much different and are termed differently and viewed differently than they would be, say, on the Iron Range. So we have individuals that focus in an area of the state so we know for sure we're giving the best information possible, connecting them to the best services in their area that would suit their needs.
Yes. I know geographically, people are more comfortable with things that are in their geographical area or they're even down to the city level. They just
Absolutely.
have a lot of trust in the people that are in that area. So it's nice that you guys can help support the entire state of Minnesota, which is a large state.
It is.
With an extended population all across the state here. So it's nice to know that there really is kind of a local element to the resources available.
There absolutely is. We have found it to be much more successful in helping individuals move forward in their journey.
Yeah. Wow. Great. We have various populations in the state. Alec, maybe talk about how you guys are serving the various populations within the state of Minnesota.
Absolutely. So what we see is that marginalized groups face the greatest risk of both brain injury and the worst outcomes after both brain injury and stroke. Specifically, some of these groups being folks facing housing insecurity, folks who are experiencing intimate partner violence or domestic violence, those already involved with the criminal justice system, so on and so forth. Specifically, one statistic I like to mention, the number of women who've experienced a brain injury secondary to domestic violence is about 11 to 12 times greater than all military and all athlete brain injuries combined. And this has unfortunately been a very...
From a domestic standpoint.
Yes.
Wow.
And those would be those anoxic, hypoxic type injuries relating to oxygen levels. So these, unfortunately, have been very historically underserved. So we're trying to get out there into those communities and spread the awareness of these are the effects of brain injury. And if you see some of these issues, we're here to lend a hand.
Yeah. And that even involves people who are incarcerated or are letting out, finishing their situation again, they have a higher risk, it seems like, as well.
Definitely, both of further repeat offenses with that impulse control and judgment control, not to mention further issues when they're in the criminal justice system in the first place. You know, if they're a little bit less attentive to someone who might be, say, a jailer, then it might be a little bit more likely that they get some action against them as a result. So we might see some more brain injuries occurring.
Wow. We've got a couple minutes here. Brad, what do you see for the future? What are you guys visioning, and what do you see for support for brain injury situations?
Well, we've already tackled a population coming out of the hospital systems and all that, and we're making a dent in that. That's wonderful. We have great partners. The next level is the emergency rooms. Think of all the minor concussions that might be seen in emergency room situations or emergency departments that may not know we're available for after that. So how do we hit that next level? All of these small situations that don't require hospitalization immediately, but could have long-term impacts. That's also how we get to some of these other marginalized populations, we hope. There's so many avenues that brain injury can occur. And again, too often people don't even think ahead, I'll remember that group for down the road when I have a brain injury. It's after it's occurred that then the need would be there. But if they haven't encountered the option for us, that becomes a tough road to hoe on your own.
Right.
So we look to hit these other avenues in the next decade here that we hope we see advancements in that, just like we've seen out of the hospital discharge systems.
Okay. And all the athletic, high school, grade school, middle school, college, there's just so many athletic situations.
And in 2011, there was the return to play legislation passed where coaches have to be educated on brain injury, especially regarding youth sports. And that was a huge step because not knowing what you don't know puts volunteer coaches in child settings. The volunteer coaches, they're put in a horrible situation to decide what do you do. So that legislation to help provide that education was crucial.
Wow. And you got the pressure from parents, and you got peer pressure.
Put my kid into play.
Right,
I don't know if I should. That's a tough situation.
Tough situation. All right, we're at the end of the show. I want to thank Bradley Donaldson, Chief Operations Officer and incoming Chief Executive Officer of the Minnesota Brain Injury Alliance and Minnesota Stroke Association, and Alec Wendelboe, Education and Community Outreach Coordinator, for discussing their organization's free and comprehensive services available to brain injury and stroke survivors across Minnesota. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Please contact us with any questions or comments you have regarding today's conversation. You can reach us anytime by voice or text at 612-999-3426. Join us again next Saturday at noon for another broadcast, and thank you for listening to Living Healthy and Aging Well, where we talk about your health and your life. Until next time, choose to live well.